How you doing?
Good. How are you and everything? And
yes, it's still strange times.
It's still strange times, but now it's summer strange times.
Yes, rather than
pre-summer,
than
late
sort of spring kind of weird times. Yeah, it's still it feels like everything's changed and nothing's changed.
Yes, everything's changed compared to what it should be. And I think the further we get into the year and every season and every event that we go through, that, for example, the school holidays, still busy along the North Norfolk Coast, maybe busier in places than it should be, in fact. But, you know, it's definitely not the way that it would normally be, but it's still lovely, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, hello and welcome to the Deepdale Podcast.
Hello.
It's August 2020. Who would have thought? You know, it's that strange, weird and wonderful period in our lives where we've reached almost the end of harvest. It's very strange.
And the mill is going strong.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you can hear that in the background. It's sort of it's part of the soundtrack of a few weeks in the summer.
It would be a lot worse had we actually recorded outside, which we were intending to, and we both kind of looked at each other and thought, it's not going to happen today, is it? No.
Sadly not. No, we're hoping tomorrow will be our last day of cutting.
Oh, okay.
And then so that will be kind of through, and then it'll take a few days for Stephen to kind of get the backlog sorted.
Oh, I thought you were going to say catch up on his sleep, but
no, that's hopefully the week after.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be very excited for that.
I'm sure he'll be very pleased about that. So and we've got motorhomes with their own facilities staying.
Yeah,
we've got lots of them, and it's very lovely. And as one of them described it, an oasis of calm.
I love that. I thought they were your words because you're quite poetic. I didn't realise that a customer had actually said that. That's even more impressive.
No, definitely a customer, and basically they said it was just lovely calmness here when the carnage sort of elsewhere.
Oh, that's really lovely.
They said it was just lovely because they were able to social distance and they didn't feel worried here at all, and lots of space, and that there elsewhere was not quite the same feel to it.
It's interesting because I think that's exactly what we're going for, but this time of year, oasis of calm is not necessarily what we would normally be described as. We're still, in my opinion, a very lovely site at this time of year, but it's a lot busier and therefore it's not quite so calm at all times.
Yeah, we're definitely it's definitely a sort of a space rather than a kind of normal sort of August madness.
Yeah.
Which I think, and we are gutted that we can't host the people that we can't host.
Yeah.
That is very sad.
I think if we get to the end of this year and we have not been able to, safely open to the extent that we would normally be open, it's going to feel really bizarre getting to the end of the year without having had a mad summer rush.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to have loads of unspent energy. God knows what.
Nobody really knows, what the plan is. So we've said only motorhomes till the end of August. We're deciding probably next week about what we're going to do about September.
Yeah.
Watching the kind of the figures and seeing how things are going with infection rates and all of that kind of stuff. Sadly, very sadly, the Deepdale Festival is not happening this year, but really pleasingly, the vast majority of the acts have already confirmed.
I didn't know if we were allowed to say that, because when it comes to particularly the festival, but anything to do with music, it's very much. I almost feel like I'm part of an exclusive lineup, and I'm like, oh, are we allowed to say this? Has this been announced? The fact that a lot of, I think most of them, if not all of them, have confirmed, haven't they, that they want to come next year?
Yeah, Chris has done a fantastic job
cool.
kind of going back and talking to all of the various customers and various bands and acts, and we've got a really fantastic lineup for 2021. It's going to be awesome.
I mean, if we normally throw a fantastic festival, then think of what we could do with 2 years to plan rather than one. It's going to be...
Yeah, although I bet you and I will still be chasing stall holders to confirm about 3 minutes.
I was going to say, definitely no more than a week before.
Why would they give us any more notice just because?
I'll be calling people on the day like, are you still coming?
Yeah. But yeah, no, the program is looking absolutely awesome. So, just reading from the top of this, so Friday night's headliners, Little Red Kings with Mammal Not Fish and Ebb Tide and Neve. And then Saturday the 25th of September, we've got Kirsty Merrin and Ben Walker, the Goat Roper Rodeo Band, Bleeding Hearts, John Ward Band, Cutthroat Francis, Katie Spencer, Chris Fox, Emma O'Reilly and Henry Parker. And on Sunday the 26th of September, we've got Martin Simpson, Three Daft Monkeys, which I just love that name, it's just awesome. Katie Doherty and the Navigators, the Dry Stones, Alden Patterson and Dashwood, Alton Wahlberg, and the Joe Keeley Band. So
it's brilliant there because we've got a few acts in there, a few artists in there who have visited before. So people that have visited the festival before know that they're going to at least hear something that they do like. And then we've got some new. So Three Daft Monkeys, we haven't had. Haven't had them
a lot
before,
of those acts actually
really
we
cool.
haven't had before because the Little Red Kings and Mammal Not Fish are absolute favourites.
Yeah.
Neve, I met Neve when she was a very young lass busking in Norwich, and I went up to her and said, "Hi, I really like what you're playing."
So you're to thank for Neve. Okay,
yeah, and
cool.
I said, "I really like what you're playing. Would you like to come and play at Deepdale?" And she said, "Oh, you'll need to ask my dad," who was very subtly standing back, kind of across the road,
watching
just keeping
you with
an
sunglasses
eye,
on, with his arms folded.
Weird bearded bloke coming up to his daughter in the middle of Norwich, going, "Excuse me, would you like to come and play at Deepdale?" and he sort of sidled across, and they are the loveliest pair, her and her dad, and and so Neve's had a long relationship with Deepdale, and it's been fab to see her. And she came over when Emma O'Reilly was playing last year when she did her Sunday session, and she's played a couple of other times. And
I might have met her actually.
Quite possibly.
Done.
And then a lot of the bands on the Saturday we haven't had before. So Kirsty Merrin and Ben Walker, Goat Roper Rodeo Band, Bleeding Hearts. None of those have played before.
I think it's just because we have a large number, don't we? We have a lot of people.
This
coming.
is just a small fraction of what Chris has got planned.
Yeah, I would never want to go, "Oh, it's going to be great to have Ben Walker here again," and you say, "Oh, he's not played here." I'm like, "Oh, well, fantastic."
Well, the team do run around, so it kind of Chris and I spend so much time kind of preparing stuff to tell people about the programme, but of course the team are doing all the sort of the check-ins and making sure that,
stuff,
and all the toilets are clean and all of that kind of stuff. So
the behind-the-scenes stuff, we don't get to watch all of the acts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we just. I think between us, actually, we go, "Okay, I particularly want to see X, Y, and Z. Oh, I particularly want to see A, B, and C. Brilliant. Yeah. Let's cover each other while we do that."
So as
and
much
you
as
and Chris don't even realise.
Well, it's just it is really sad that we aren't going to be doing both the festival and the Christmas market in 2020. Yeah. And of course we didn't do our first Beltane, which was supposed to be back in May, and we didn't do our our Hooga.
But we have got some. We've still managed to kind of squeeze in some events. So we've got the open air theatre, haven't we? We've been able to facilitate with the social distancing and stuff. So that's really exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, so it'll be really lovely to have the Pantaloons back. And
of
course they're coming back twice this year. And we thought we'd lost the July event. Then the government made the announcement that open air theatre could happen. So now we've got Sherlock Holmes on the 22nd of August, and we've got 12th night on the 28th.
Yeah.
The
I think that's brilliant as well. We're getting there's a lot in the public at the moment, in the media, about supporting arts and things like that. Pantaloons are brilliant. So even despite what was going on, with a global pandemic at the moment, they're well worth supporting, but even more so, when the times are a little bit tricky. And they're a lot of fun for anyone that's maybe been inside a lot of the time and is looking to have a bit of a laugh and, burn off some...
Yeah, it's not going to be serious. It's not going to be a serious version of 12th Night.
No.
If you want to find humour in a Shakespeare, then the Pantaloons are the right people for you.
And they're brilliant for kids as well as adults, aren't they? We get older couples come along as well as younger families and stuff like that. So
and there's a nice bit of sort of
nice atmosphere.
It's slightly slapstick, they find all of that kind of thing. So basically, for anybody who's never seen the Pantaloons, it's 4 actors who play all the parts. So occasionally it works out that somebody basically has to change a hat and then pretend they're somebody different, and they make a big play up of that. I think that's
testament to good acting, to be able to flicker between from, a male to female, from a, merchant to a slave or whatever,
Yeah. No, I think it should be really good fun, and they're great fun, and we've had them here, for sort of 3 or 4 years in the past. So it's
we know that they're good. Yeah,
we know that
tried
they're
and tested.
Absolutely,
so join us for that.
They are well worth, and it looks like Sherlock Holmes is sold out, and there are tickets for 12th night at the moment. So, but worth checking. But we're only selling tickets for those online. So do check our website for events, or go to dalegatemarket.co.uk/outdoor-theatre. So that's dalegatemarket.co.uk/outdoor-theatre.
Particularly important, I think, because in previous years we have been able to have tickets sold on the door, haven't we?
But
Whereas
due
this year,
to
it wouldn't be safe for us to do that.
And sort of mix of handling money and all of that kind of thing, and also contact tracing and everything else. Basically, it's got to be done through the online ticket sales.
I should probably know this, but actually, it's good, I suppose, for people that are listening. Are we going to be able to run a bar for the
No bar this year. We just decided that it was just one more thing that was just going to complicate it, really.
Yeah. So I'm guessing people are welcome as usual to bring their own
picnics. There's a
just take it away with you. Don't leave us with loads of rubbish, please.
Exactly, please. But whatever you bring, you take away with you. There's going to be no intervals, so there's not going to be sort of queues for loos and stuff. It's just going to be one loo that is available for emergencies. But the idea is you don't need the facilities.
Preferably,
find a good space to keep away from everybody else, 2 meters apart from other groups. Enjoy the evening. Enjoy your picnic, and bring your champagne. The actors, of course, won't be able to steal your food this year, whereas that's normally part of the. Normally they go round and test out people's picnics.
They're going to be gutted.
They are going to be heartbroken.
They're going to miss out on all sorts of
really
goodness
lovely
knows
good
what.
things. Although there has been occasional not for me. But that's very sad.
No.
But that's good for the customers because they won't lose parts of their picnics.
Absolutely, the biggest ant you've ever seen.
Yes, exactly. But it should be really good fun. The show's about an hour and a half long, and it's very funny. And you'll be home, to not watch the 10 o'clock news later that evening.
Oh no, how disappointing! We're not going to be able to listen to more doom and gloom.
Yeah, exactly.
How devastating for us.
It's very, very sad. But that's going to be really good fun. The pantaloons are awesome, and of course, we're rolling any events that haven't happened through to next year. So we're not getting rid of them out of the calendar. We're
not cancelling the Christmas market forever.
No, we're just having a fallow year, and then we'll sort of we'll see where it goes for the next year.
2021.
We just have to roll with the punches and see how things go. And every business, every organisation is having to sort of work their way through the weirdness of all of this in their own step-by-step process, and it is far from simple for any business. It really isn't. It really is immensely complicated.
I hope that other businesses would probably agree that we have been really lucky with our customers. They've been really sympathetic to the fact that we're not 100% sure on what's going to be going on this time next month, and we're not entirely sure what we can necessarily offer people that are even staying next week and things like that. Potentially if things were to change in Norfolk locally, then we would have to change things. So we're very lucky, aren't we, that we've got such a resilient customer base.
Yeah, they are lovely.
They've been brilliant.
They are really a lovely bunch.
Thank you, everyone.
And I think the important thing for everybody is to try and keep their sense of humour, deal with this as best we can, realise that this is immensely difficult for a huge number of the businesses.
A little bit
locally.
of trench humour is necessary at the moment, isn't
it?
A
little bit of that, definitely, and just a sense of just accepting the situation and dealing with that each business is looking at their own situation and trying to make the best of the weirdness, and trying none of the decisions are made personally to annoy anybody.
Absolutely,
it's
of course.
all about trying to kind of do the best for the team, for the customers, for the business, and try and balance all those things together. And it is very it is hard, but out of what could normally be seen as doom and gloom is the fact that, you know, we've got the taco guys coming on a Thursday now, and you know, they only came to us because the two ladies who run it were supposed to be on their gap
and
year.
They've been doing really well.
And it's lovely.
The pizza guys as well. They were with us yesterday evening. I saw them.
And they're moving from Wednesday to Friday. They normally do Wednesday and Friday during August, and they're actually now going to do Friday and Sundays.
Okay, cool.
So they're going to do Sunday lunchtime and Friday evenings.
Brilliant.
So
that's if you're staying locally as well. They're now
absolutely
stationed in a little bit more of an obvious place, aren't they, to attract people that are using the garage, going to the beach. So you don't have to. I mean, you've never had to be staying at Deepdale. You could have wandered onto the site before and paid, not helped yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not going to appreciate me saying that. But yeah, now they are right at the front outside the Visitors Information Centre, which is just next door to the garage and Dalegate Market in Burnham Deepdale. Really, really easy to see, really convenient for parking. So if you're in the area, going to the beach, walking the dog, seeing family members,
come and have pizza.
Come and get some food and tacos. Yeah, pizza and tacos. Nice. They are good. I can vouch for them.
And of course, all the pop-up shops are back open at Dalegate Market, and all the shops are open, the cafe's back open, the supermarket has been open all the way through and been awesome. So, you know, things
life
sort
goes on here.
Yeah, exactly. Things
safely goes on.
It feels like we're sort of back to some form of normality, but of course it's, you know, masks in shops, keeping social distancing, please wash your hands lots, and generally just respect the fact that, you know, other people are taking this at their own pace, and, you know, just take it easy.
I think if there's anywhere that you can slow down, it's the North Norfolk Coast, isn't it?
It's interesting. There's some quite big queues in places. So what I would, to anybody who's wanting to come and visit, this is a lovely time. The weather's been really interesting and it's beautiful. But just remember that a lot of other people are on holiday here too. So the peak locations like Wells Beach are going to be very busy. There's lots of space. So if you can take it, you know, slowly to wait to get your ticket for your car and everything else. Once you get onto the beach, it's very easy to social distance, and you can have your space, enjoy the lovely weather, and just generally, you know, enjoy the place. But just remember that, you know, pubs are, you know, they've had to reduce the number of tables. You know, all the cafes and stuff like that have had to reduce their table numbers as well. You know, and shops are kind of limited number of people coming through. So things just take a little bit longer. So you just have to get into that holiday mode of manana. There's no rush. Take your time, and then you can really enjoy the North Norfolk Coast. You know, you can really enjoy for what it is. And there are a lot of places that aren't manically busy. You know, where the main beach signs are, very busy, but there's lots of other places that you can visit and go to. Lots of lovely walks.
Well, you know, there's
absolutely head into the hinterland. You know,
like Houghton Hall, Blickling Estate. Holcombe Estate, massively underrated. That's beautiful. They've got a really, I've only been once, which is surprising because I'm within walking distance, but they're doing Feast in the Park.
Yeah, Feast in the Park, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yeah.
Really, really lovely food vendors, like independently run food vendors. I tried Bucket List for the first time, which is mad because how many times have they been to our events? Yeah. So, you know, there is a lot going on slightly further inland as well as on the coast. Yeah. And a little heads up as well, a lot of the restaurants and you know, places to eat along the coast that maybe didn't do takeout before are now doing takeaway to enable them to sell as much food as possible. So call, place an order, go ahead, pick it up and eat it on the beach. Just please take your stuff home with you.
Yeah, please take your rubbish home.
Please don't leave it on the beach.
Don't do what has been done, which is stack everything up next to the poo bag bin. You know, the dog
or
poo
just
bag.
a full bin. If it's full, then just take your stuff home.
Yeah,
with
it's
you,
going to be in the car for what? 20 minutes, an hour.
It's going to be in the ocean forever.
It can be dealt with when you get home.
Yeah.
Put it in your normal rubbish. Just take your rubbish home. Basically, if you bring stuff to the beach or to the countryside, it all needs to go back with you, you know. And apart from maybe the dregs of your tea, which you can pour onto the grass, everything else goes home with you.
Just keep it nice.
Yeah, exactly. You came because you think it looks lovely. The whole idea is when you leave, it should look just as lovely, apart from maybe the sandcastle you built. You know, sandcastles.
Yeah, you can leave those as long as they're good ones.
Oh, okay. Not rubbish ones.
No. You have
That's very
You
demanding.
have to judge yourself as.
Are you going to be down on Branksome Beach going, yes, it can stay, no, it can't, yes, it can, no, it
as
can't.
they're building it, just a heartbroken 5-year-old saying, knock that down, it's no good. I'm not that bad, I promise. I'm not that bad. I promise I'm not that bad. But
Isn't your other half a builder?
Not of sandcastles.
No, but I was just wondering whether
that would be a lot more fun, actually. I prefer
Do you not
that.
pop around to his, things go, no, I'm sorry, that's just not up to scratch.
Not in front of him.
Oh, you sneak down there when he's not there. Okay. Yes. Sorry, you've, yes.
4 out of 10.
Yeah,
sorry,
exactly.
Will, yeah.
I feel for you, mate. I feel for you. But so apologies to anybody whose 4-year-old gets told that they're
sorry if
their
I don't like
sandcastle
sandcastle. Try harder.
That's a new side of you, Georgie, that I just haven't seen.
Just edit all of this out, Kendra. I sound like such a horrible witch.
No, it's staying. So, today is Farm 24. So we're tweeting and telling the world about what's going on the farm. And we're posting lots of different photos. So I finally managed to get a photo with me, Nathan, and Stephen together.
How did you do that? Did you get Estelle to take it, or did you put it on timer for you?
I did one of the selfies.
One of the selfies,
selfies.
Yeah.
We're very good at your selfies. When you go into that barn and there's heaps of grain, it is a very satisfying.
All
thing,
of the hard work, has paid off. I can imagine.
So it is good, but please do keep kind of inquiring. We would love to see you up here on the North Norfolk Coast. The North Norfolk Coast would love to see you, but please just remember that times are not of normal, and nobody quite knows when they're going to be, and so it's just a question of taking it in your stride and dealing with it like everybody else is, and we just hope that wherever you are, you're safe, you're not in a local lockdown or anything like that. But let's just see what happens, and we will keep you informed of events going forward, and we will keep adding to the program as we can. And we will announce things as we can. We're going to think about what to do about the Hygge and the spring market at the end of March. We'll sort of think about that probably in November sort of time.
We'll let you know as soon as we can be sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Or as sure as possible.
We've given dates for the festival in September next year, which is the 23rd to the 26th of September, and the Christmas market is going to be the 3rd to the 5th of December 2021. So we've kind of set those dates in the hope that by sort of September, October next year, things are relatively normal. I think the earlier stuff we're going to kind of reserve our thoughts and see what the winter brings, and we'll know sort of November, December time whether weirdness is continuing and whether we think those events will be able to happen. So we're just watch this space, keep watching our social media and our website, and we will tell people, and we'll send out newsletters, and we'll keep people up to date. But for the moment, it's motorhomes with their own facilities. We've reopened some of our private rooms on a sort of, we're giving long breaks in between their stays.
And self-contained basis as well.
Yeah, they're
so
room
no
only,
longer...
so sadly we're still not allowed to open the kitchen and living room for those.
But we have got the Groups Hostel open with its own facilities, as long as you can abide by government guidance with that.
Yeah.
So
I think at the moment that's sort of maximum of 2 households sharing.
Yeah, 2 households, 2 families together.
Supposedly they're supposed to be their own social distancing within that, but that seems those have been popular, and
you can still bring the dogs.
Still bring the dogs, which is very important, and dogs are still very welcome all along the coast. If you're going to any of the North Norfolk beaches, you do need to just check where you can take dogs. So places like Wells, Munsley.
Maybe got dog-free areas, not the whole beach, but dog-free areas.
There's lots of beach where you can take dogs, but there are areas where you can't.
Which is great for people that are coming that don't want to be around canines as well.
Exactly.
You can.
And it does mean your dogs can find friends to play with where you go to on other bits. And the water is lovely. I can testament to that. I swam at the weekend.
Brilliant.
It was lovely, very nice. No wetsuit required. It was a bit fresh when I first got in, but lovely by the time.
As soon as you started moving, you were all right.
Yeah, daughter turned completely blue at one point.
Maybe a wetsuit required for Ava, though.
She might need that next time. But anyway, it was gorgeous, and places that we've tried that are definitely good in terms of social distancing. As you say, feast in the park, not fist
brilliant.
in the park. Yeah, feast in the park at Holcombe. There's plenty of space to sort of get out, and there's lots of different caterers to eat from. People seem pretty good at social distancing in queues, waiting for food. So that was very nice.
We've got Adams there with some ciders and beers as well.
Yeah, they've opened the cricket pavilion as a bar, and there's various other things. And of course, you've got the backdrop of the beautiful hall. And
I went with my partner and my parents, and we took the dogs, and then we went for a walk around the lake. I mean, that's beautiful any day, but when you've just had some really good food and had a couple of drinks, that's even better.
Yeah, so that's really lovely. Wivton Hall, the cafe there, and the sort of pick your own. They've done a really nice job there. They've closed the actual internal cafe. They've spread the tables and chairs all around the site,
brilliant.
Mowed out sort of areas, so lots of space to kind of go and social distance. Beautiful views down across the Wivton marshes and out to sea, so that's really lovely. The White Horse in the village here, just a short walk from here, they've got a bar, and they're serving food down sort of right at the end of their car park overlooking the marshes, which is lovely.
Brilliant.
And the Jolly Sailors, they've sort of laid all their tables out in the garden, so they all have sort of 2 metre distancing, and they're serving food and drink in the garden, so that's really lovely. So that, there are good places to head to for food and drink, and they're not insanely busy. They're just it is August, so don't be surprised.
It would be busy anywhere. Yeah. If you were to have come last year, it would have been worse than it is this year. It's just now we've got to think about social distancing and stuff. So stay safe.
Yes, exactly. Stay safe, stay calm, and enjoy. That's the secret.
Enjoy Norfolk. So,
lovely to speak with you, Georgie.
Lovely to speak with you.
And I think we might get Nathan to come and do a little bit about what's going on the farm, now that our lovely cover crops are there, and talk about the last bit of harvest. But yeah, lovely.
I wonder what there'll be to talk about next month. What's going to be going on? Yeah. Then everything's changing daily at the moment. Who knows monthly? But
we'll see what happens, and then we'll see what the calendar throws at us in
September.
Summer
has for us, in store.
Thanks a lot, Georgie.
Bye,
Talk to you soon. Bye bye. So we are sitting here in the Backpackers Courtyard. You've probably just listened to Georgie and I chatting about tourism. And it's a lovely day. It's one of those sort of, lots of cloud but lots of blue too. The birds are running around us. You'll hear the chicks getting very excited when Mum and Dad appear. The swallow chicks when Mum and Dad arrive with the food. And it's just one of those lovely days. A team are pottering around. There's motorhomes up on the campsite, and it's a beautiful day, isn't it? Sort of one of those very pleasantly warm without being overly stiflingly hot.
It's gorgeous. It's a bit muggy. I was just in some waders and it was fairly sweaty, but otherwise all good.
He decided he was going to take a bath, but he wrapped himself in rubber first.
Is there any other way?
In case you're wondering what that's about, basically we're currently irrigating carrots and potatoes around the farm, and we have an irrigation pond where we take water from. It comes out of the beautifully fresh, clear springs, and occasionally we have to remove some weed. So Nathan decided that he was going to climb into the pond in some. They're sort of they chest high waders, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, which you do not want to accidentally overtop, because you basically then are stuck.
Yes, indeed. Fortunately, all was well. I mean, I have prior experience in waders. I wouldn't consider myself a wader professional, but I am I'm sort of moderate skills with waders.
That's good.
So
that's good. So that's on your CV?
No, funnily enough, left it off my CV.
Did you?
Yeah, there are various different things you have to leave off your CV. If you're thinking about space, wader proficiency being one of them.
Probably one of them.
Yeah.
Unless it's a very, very specific job.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, exactly. So
wader salesman.
Wader salesman, that might be very important, mightn't it?
Wader. Moving on.
Moving on rapidly to something that we're going to actually have a conversation about. So how has harvest been?
It's been really good so far. We've been doing things in a new way this year. We've been using Jack Robinson, who's a local contractor. He's been cutting the wheat for us. We've started a bit earlier than we sort of originally thought we might.
Yeah, I believe that Stephen's lost that bet. He absolutely put his money on the 5th of August, and we've almost finished harvest, and it's only the 5th of August.
Exactly. You know, we've got probably one decent day of cutting left tomorrow to cut about 50 hectares more, and yeah, job's a good one. It's no, it's been good. It's
your first harvest.
Yeah, my first harvest. Yes. Yeah. So it's been really interesting. Been sort of sussing out the barn, and we have to do various different bits of sort of quality control as we go. So we've got to do moisture testing of the wheat. We take a sample every time we get a grain cart coming back off the fields. Test the moisture, test the temperature, record everything as we go. Then we're doing the same with the wheat that's coming through the dresser and the dryer, monitoring the moisture levels because we can't put it in the barn while it's too wet. So it's been really sort of interesting to see how all that works, and I've been picking it up alongside all the other bits and pieces that we've got to do on a day-to-day basis.
It's been a steep learning curve the last 8 months, hasn't it?
It's been one of the most intense periods of my life professionally so far. But I've got a very happy, well-fed brain.
Yeah. Your brain certainly hasn't been bored.
No, definitely not bored.
No. Yeah. So, yes, it's been a thing. It's great. It's great seeing the wheat come in. You know, there were points in April and May when we were bone dry here that we were beginning to wonder whether there was going to be anything coming into the barn at all.
Yeah, and it's not been looking great on some of the fields. You know, we've been sort of jokingly suggesting that we can go onto one of our fields and cut all the wheat on there with a pair of nail scissors.
Sadly, a bit too close to reality.
A little bit too close to reality. I mean, you know, what we understand from listening to the experience of other farmers is that a lot of other farmers are experiencing very disappointing yields this year. So we're not alone. This is a bad harvest. A lot of people are basically saying, you know what, let's just get 2020 out of the way and hope for the best for next year. So
it's funny, that's pretty much what we were saying in the tourism bit of this podcast as well. So, you know, sort of, yeah. But never mind.
Indeed. I mean, you don't want to wish your life away, though, because this has been a fairly sort of monumental year so far in terms of all the sort of the progress that we've been making and the decisions that we've been making on the farm and the sort of the change of direction. So, you know, it's been necessary.
It's interesting because I think the time that we haven't spent on the Hygge and the Beltane and the festival and the Christmas market and stuff actually is time that we've managed to spend on other things like working out what we're going to do with the stewardship scheme and that sort of stuff, which is being really strange because I don't know how we would have fitted in a lot of the stuff that we've done farm-wise, but because we didn't have anything else, it doesn't feel like we rammed the time in. We actually had enough time to talk to lots of different people and understand what it was we were trying to do and then make educated steps in that direction rather than going, oh my God, we've got to get the stewardship application in a few days' time and let's just randomly go and draw some bits on a field. I feel that we've really had time to sort of think about the process of what we're trying to achieve and then go from there. Really, that's how I felt about it.
And using this really interesting farming word, a word that everybody really knows, you know, the word fallow, to describe, you know, the way that the events of, you know, what's happened with the events this year with our festival and our Beltane and other events, you know, going fallow, and it's that whole thing of the sort of, I mean, fallow traditionally coming from some old German word basically meaning to sort of break the land up for sowing, but actually the understanding that many would have now of fallow land is basically land that has been allowed to rest. And you know, we have fields on the farm at the moment that are fallow, and we have left them. We've not touched them, and you know, it allows time for maybe some of the soil biology to develop and things to happen and things to grow, and it's less work and more time that we have to do other things, and you know, in that process of the events and other bits and pieces on the farm, laying fallow for the year, it means that we have sort of, it has been a fertile time for some other things.
Yeah, it's it definitely, and I'm sure we've said this before, but it has been a very odd year, but I think actually weirdly hugely productive year as well. I feel that we've, that and their learning continues. The brain continues to hurt most days, but I feel that we've, it's weird. Like because I haven't been directly involved with harvesting quite the same way as I have been this year. In previous years, because in previous years it was Dad's domain. He kind of got on with it, and I was sort of interested, but wasn't sort of. It wasn't my life, if that makes sense. Whereas this year I've been really fascinated in looking at what yields we've been getting from what fields and how has this worked, and checking in with you guys to see what's cutting well and what state the fields. And I've been walking through fields, and my wife said to me the other day, "God, you're beginning to sound like a farmer," which was a bit of a shock to both her and me, because we were driving past fields of wheat, and I was going, "Oh, that's not very good," and "Oh, that's not bad."
Yeah, I've started to experience a lot of this. I was watching a video the other day. Laura Farms on YouTube. Laura presented on the Ag of the World Twitter feed that we took over a little while ago, and she was out in the middle of a field at night doing a sort of a pivot, doing some irrigation work, and I found myself watching this video on the irrigation, because these massive fields in the US, the huge grain silos that they have, the massive quantities, and I found myself watching a part of this video, and I saw a sort of basically a PTO shaft turning really, really fast, this piece of machinery. And if you're familiar with farming, you know that a PTO shaft is really a very, very, very dangerous thing, and they must always be covered, and you never go anywhere near a PTO shaft because they'll basically have your arm off. And this PTO shaft is turning away in the background of this video, and I found myself immediately saying, "I can't believe that's uncovered. It's absolutely disgraceful." And my wife has literally never heard me talking so much about irrigation. It's absolutely bananas.
She might forgive you at some point.
She may forgive me at some point. It may take a few years, but actually, the thing for me is a sort of before this year, as I would have to say, an outsider to farming, and now coming and sort of basically jumping feet first into farming and gaining the experience of the basics that we've been sort of doing on the farm, even just stuff like irrigating carrots and potatoes, and what we've been doing with the wheat, is just an appreciation that I did not have before, if I'm honest, of how much work and how much resource goes into growing. These are basic crops: spuds, carrots, wheat. This is basic stuff, and yet so much work, so much resource. And just that appreciation of when you pull a 60p 1 kilogram bag of carrots off the shelf in the supermarket, what has gone into growing those, and you've paid 60 pence for them.
Yeah,
it's mind blowing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you think of the hours that you and Stephen and Michael have spent, pulling irrigation units across fields and adjusting them, and occasionally getting soaked, but not too badly. But the hours that those guys spend coming and planting those fields and doing all the things, and the fact that often they leave this field and they're on the supermarket shelf within 2 hours. So they're picked up by fast track, raced down to the packaging plant, packaged up, and they're back on the supermarket shelves within that period of time. That's just incredible, after all that work that goes on. And then, as you say, it's 60p for that bag. Now you get a lot of carrots for that irrigation, but it is amazing. And you think the same with wheat, that the work that goes through that, the number of times that you and I have stood in a field and talked about whether this one's going to be okay, and when do you think we're going to harvest it, and anything else we should be doing to it, and blah blah blah. And then that goes, you go on to that, and then the time, there are 5 of you working full time while you're harvesting, and then that's going to, we've got to get that through and process that through to the barn. Then that's got to go off to, somewhere to be stored and mixed with other wheat, and then that's got to go to wherever it's going to go to next, whether that's feed wheat or to milling. And just the whole process and thing. And I think the thing that excites me is about when we go organic next year, the crops that we're going to be producing, although we're going to be producing much less of them, we can very definitely see where we want those to end up. Whereas at the moment we're selling into the general market, so the wheat that we produce, I spend a while on the phone and I work out where I'm going to sell it, and once I've sold it, it's picked up by a lorry and we never see it again, and it could end up anywhere in the world. What will be really nice when we move to being organic and producing a limited amount of barley and a limited amount of wheat and a limited amount of whatever else is that we'll know, we're hopefully going to be in the position fairly shortly where we know exactly where that's gone to. So when we're sitting around the fire pit at the festival drinking beer, that beer will hopefully have been made with the barley that we've harvested earlier that year. Now that's really exciting for me, because that brings it all together, and that has the full circle of thing, and we bring in a lot of other really interesting local businesses on that journey from field back to farm, while we do that, and I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, and we're hearing all these, see all these incredible stories of farms of a certain size, farms of a certain persuasion, moving maybe away from becoming commodity crop producers and becoming food producers. And you and I both love our food. We both love our beer. We love the guys at Norfolk Brewhouse who make amazing Moongazer ale, and the prospect of being able to send barley from this farm onto Chris Maltings onto the floor, to get that malted, to make that into beer, to bring back here, to close the loop is incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
And the sort of the organic conversion process for the farm brings all of these other benefits as well that are just as exciting to do with. I mean, it almost becomes a sort of a mundane thing, seeing things on this farm already at the moment that I have never seen before. I was pulling an irrigator in a potato field today. I have literally never seen so many butterflies in my entire life, and yet the amount of our fields that are going to be turned over entirely for the benefit of pollinators and birds, and the potential for us to do that much more for biodiversity on the farm is really just it's dream come true territory.
Well, the video that you took of swallows diving across the cover crops and eating all of the bugs, that was just amazing. And that's a very small fraction of what it is we're going to achieve going forward. That's the thing, and the difference is dramatic. And I tell you, the really nice thing is, since we were interviewed by the EDP, thanks to the Norfolk Rivers Trust guys who got us, got Chris Hill over here, the agricultural editor, and he came over, and it was really interesting talking to him and us being able to tell the story of kind of how we got to where we got to. And when you saw their faces and then you saw that article appearing in the press, and then the organisations that have been in touch with us in the matter of just a few days since that article appeared, saying we'd really love to work with you, how can we do this, where can we go, that's really exciting for me, because that means that I think the thing we realised back in January was that we didn't really know very much between the two of us, or at least that's how it felt. By March we realised that nobody knew what they were talking about, and that asking stupid questions, there was a lot of people in the room going, thank God he asked that question, because that was the question I wanted to ask. And I think that's been my whole life, is that I've never been afraid to be the one that asked the question and lots of people groan, oh God, but actually they really want to know the answer. They're just really pleased they didn't have to ask it. And I think the exciting thing for me is the way that we can become, I was talking to a little boy today who's with his dad, they're staying on the campsite. He wanted to know what we were doing in the barn with the grain. So I just explained that, it comes in off the combine, comes in the thing, and then what we're doing is we've stored it in the barn, we're moving it across to put it through the dryer and then put it on the floor so we can send it out to become either feed or bread. And he was like, oh, right, okay. And he just was really interested in that process. And I think the disconnect between food and the world generally is very sad in that, you know, people don't understand where their food comes from. So what I'm really looking forward to for us doing is the things like the Open Farm Sundays, you know, that kind of thing going forward, because you and I absolutely love telling that story. You know, we love explaining what it is we're doing and why we're doing it. There will always be some people who go, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing like that," you know, but the really interesting thing, and the guy that's been speaking on the During Game podcast for the last 3 weeks, the old boy who's been telling lots of stories. He's done everything from being a spy to doing the Cresta run in a toboggan, and, you know, all sorts of stuff. But his real passion was the farm that he's been running for many years, and it was really interesting listening to him talking about the fact that there's lots of other people who will tell you how you should be doing stuff, but actually the only one that really knows what you should be doing on your place is you know. And I think COVID-19 has absolutely summed that up, you know, as businesses are making their decisions of how to reopen and what to do, you know, lots of advice out there, lots of people saying, "Oh, you should do it like this," but of course they've got no idea of what it is you do, or the pressures within your own team, or the pressures in your site, or anything else. So I think if anything, this has just highlighted in my mind that if people want help, give it, but unrequired help or unasked for help isn't always necessary. You know, there's a lot of people out there, and they've got a lot to think about. And I think for us, there's so much to think about, so many different permutations. We have to leap with some of those decisions, but we've got to try and make that an educated leap rather than just a leap into the dark, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and we have, you know, we've educated ourselves a great deal since the start of this year, and this goes back to something, you know, that we've been talking about before, is some of the people that we've been involving in the decision-making process. You know, genuinely, it's been really, really exciting to listen to and talk with the guys at Norfolk Rivers Trust when we were considering the possibility of going for organic. You know, we spoken with Stephen Briggs, who's an amazing sort of Nuffield scholar, a soil specialist, an organic farmer, who's come along and given his perspective on things. And, you know, we know the farm, and we can sort of, you know, make a load of these decisions, but to be able to have these conversations with other farmers, like Stephen, with Duncan McGregor over at Mill Farm, you know, these are people who are doing it at the moment, who have their own experiences and their own perspectives, and just to sort of challenge your assumptions with people who, you know, they know their stuff, and everyone has slightly different ideas, and you sort of, you know, you kick these ideas and suggestions and discussions around the place, and eventually you've beaten this down, and you've ended up sort of you've ended up shaping something which is really sort of going to, you know, it's going to work for you. And, you know, and what we're developing at Deepdale is going to be really, really interesting, and really, you know, quite a radical change and quite a radical shift. But everybody that we've spoken with about this has been overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
And that's really,
apart from
really
one grain trader, but I think he was primarily thinking about the grain he wasn't going to be able to sell, because he doesn't work in organic, so that's fine. But everybody else, I would completely agree. They were sort of like, "Oh, you know, you're going to do, that's really interesting." And, you know, we've thought really carefully about it. We're going to have 25 hectare pieces, so that's 5 hectare bits of land, and we're having 20 of them. And the idea is that we will have basically 4 of them in each year of our 5-year rotation. So some will be in year 1, some will be year 2, some will be year 3, so on and so forth. And that allows us to have an organic rotation that will really work for the farm. We can bring all the fields into organic in a sensible, managed way. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that develops and grows. And then 160 hectares of the farm are going to be, there for wildlife, basically. There'll be winter feeding, there'll be summer feeding, there'll be lots of pollinator stuff. And then we haven't even started on the woods yet. You know, that's another project for once we've got through this step. So big changes, big things. You know, the Hedge Collective, our wonderful group of conservation volunteers, they're going to create a whole lot of other events and activities for them. And it's just growing, and a lot of this will be about education, about getting people onto the farm and explaining what it is we're doing, and really making that connect with making that connection between, you know, what happens on a farm, what happens in the kitchen and how those connect up. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And out of the total farm at the moment is 260 hectares.
Yeah.
So this is most of the farm is coming out of production and going into features which are there to benefit wildlife and benefit the farm and the soils. But actually, we're not stopping farming. And this is the really important thing, is that with these 100 hectares that we're farming across these 20 plots, part of this for me is the challenge of this for me is, okay, we still need to farm them really well. We need to what can we do to boost the yields under an organic system? What can we do to get the most productive while also being regenerative system? And that's a challenge that countless other farmers are sort of dealing with the whole time. And nobody's assuming it's easy. It's not going to be easy. I don't make that assumption, but it's going to be really, really interesting. And it sort of feels almost like part of the whole point of doing this is to share this and to try and sort of make sense of this, is to engage people in it. So that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most. I
think that's probably one of the most attractive things that you and I have both found from the regenerative farming and the organic aspect, is that the vast majority of people who are involved with either of those two things want to share, because they're getting into regenerative agriculture, organics, because they felt that we couldn't carry on doing what we had been doing, and that they really want to connect with other people. And the more of us that are doing this, the better we all get at it and the better it becomes. So it is really exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I really hope tomorrow's last day of cutting is our last day of cutting, because there's been no excitement during the day, and that some of those fields have some crop in them, and I hope that Stephen doesn't have too many problems over the weekend, kind of clearing the backlog once we've kind of filled the combine shed and stuff. And really looking forward to being able to sell some more crop and get that out there. So it's nice to chat with you again.
You too, dude.
Cheers. And we will we'll be back next month. We'll let you know a bit more about what our cropping plan is going forward, and the beginnings of the implementation of the organic plan. So it's very exciting. Cheers, man. Well done.